Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Joy Root, Kane Williamson. The world calls them the Fab Four. But what if the title only tells half the story? Because after spending days comparing careers, statistics, and performances across all three international formats, I found something that completely changed my perspective. These four are legends. No argument there. But the name was built on one format, and cricket isn't one format anymore. Ask yourself, how often do you picture Steve Smith walking out in a T20 World Cup final? Or Kane Williamson finishing off a chase under lights? Or Joy Root opening innings for England? For three of these four, that's just not really their story. So here's the question no one seems to ask. Should the Fab Four of modern cricket be decided mainly by Test cricket? If your answer is yes, you may completely disagree with this video. But if your answer is no, then stay with me. Because by the end of this documentary, you may look at Fab Four very differently. Let's rewind 2014. Former New Zealand captain Martin Crowe sits down to write a column. He picks four young batsmen he believes will define the next decade of cricket, and he calls them the Fab Four. And Crowe's prediction came true. For the next 10 years, these four ran world cricket. But here's the twist. This title was built almost entirely on one format, and in 2026, with three formats, franchise leagues, and 200 plus T20Is a year. Is a test-built legacy still full picture of the best of the era? Let's go back to where the legend was built. The numbers that made this name stick. Steve Smith. Test average of more than 55. Right up there with the greatest ever to hold a bat. Over 10,700 test runs, 37 centuries, multiple double centuries, and an Ashes record that terrified English bowling attack for a decade, and a peak ICC test rating that trailed only one man, Don Bradman. Kane Williamson. Test average of more than 54, and greatest New Zealand's test batsman ever. Nearly 9,500 test runs, 33 centuries, and a conversion rate from 50 to 100 that sits among the best of any batsman in the modern game. Joy Root, over 14,000 test runs, second on the all-time list in the history of the format, behind only Sachin Tendulkar. 41 test centuries, England's all-time record. England's all-time leading run scorer in any format. And Virat Kohli, 9,230 test runs with an average of around 47. 30 test centuries, 7 of them doubles. The most by any Indian captain in history, and the most successful test captain India has ever produced. More wins than any man to ever lead the side. This is the story everyone told you, but it's only 1/3 of it. Test cricket is just one format. Today, over half of a cricket's international career is played in ODIs and T20Is. So what happens when you stop looking at only 1/3 of the picture? That's where the story gets genuinely interesting. We have seen the test numbers. 4 legends, all near the top of the format. But international cricket isn't judged on one report card anymore. There are 3. So let's put all 4 of them through the other 2 and see if the story holds up. Round 1, One Day Internationals. Steve Smith retired from ODIs in 2025. His numbers, 5,800 runs with an average of around 43, 12 centuries in across 170 matches. Solid. But by his own test standards, a different level entirely. Kane Williamson, roughly 6,500 runs with an average in the mid to high 40s. around 15 centuries, reliable and composed. Joy Root, with around 7,500 runs at an average of around 50 with 20 centuries. And then there's Kohli, 14,000 plus runs with an average of 58, the highest in the history of the format among players with 200 plus innings. 51 centuries, the most any human being has ever scored in ODI cricket. This is where the gap stops being a debate and starts being a fact. Kohli isn't just good in ODIs, he's arguably the best ODI batsman around to T20 internationals, the format that now defines how most fans discover the game. Kane Williamson retired from T20Is in 2025. His final numbers 2,575 runs with an average of 33.44 and 0 centuries in 93 matches. Joy Root's T20I career tells a similar story. 32 matches, a best score of 90, and he hasn't featured for England in the format since 2019. Steve Smith played the format for over a decade, but stepped down in 2024 without ever quite becoming a white ball force the way he was in red ball cricket. And Kohli, over 4,000 T20I runs, an average near 49, and one of the best in the format's history, a century and a steering role in India's 2024 T20 World Cup title. 3 formats, 3 different eras of the game, one name showing up at the top of the leaderboard. So here's where we land. Smith, Williamson and Root. 3 genuine test greats whose legacies were built almost entirely in whites. Kohli, a test great too, but also an ODI great and a T20I. Which raises the real question this documentary set out to ask. If Fab 4 means the best batsman of an era, shouldn't era mean all of the cricket, not just 1/3 of it? That's exactly what we are about to redefine. So, if the old definition only tells a third of the story, let's redefine it properly. Best batsman of the era shouldn't mean best in one format. It should mean the best across all 3, Test, ODI and T20I. True giants of this era are the ones who mastered all 3, not just the one that suited them best. So here's my Fab 4. Number 1, Virat Kohli. We have already seen the case. Elite in Test, the greatest ODI batsman the format has ever produced, a T20 World Cup champion, and this isn't new information. This is just where he belongs. Number 2, AB de Villiers. They called him Mr. 360 because there wasn't a single area of the ground he couldn't hit a ball into. More than 20,000 international runs, 47 centuries, a test average over 50 and an ODI average over 53. And the record book still hasn't caught up to him. The fastest 50, the fastest 100 and the fastest 150 ever scored in ODI cricket. All 3, all his. Number 3, Babar Azam. An ODI average over 53, among the best of any modern batsman. Elite number in Test and the all-time highest run scorer in T20I history with over 4,500 runs, more than any batsman who has ever played the format. And in 2021, Babar Azam did something even Kohli hasn't done. He was ranked the world's number 1 batsman in ODIs and T20Is simultaneously, while sitting at number 3 in Test. The only batter in the world at that moment in the top 3 of every format at once. And last but not the least, David Warner. Nearly 19,000 international runs, 49 centuries, and one of the most destructive openers the game has ever seen in whichever format you put him in. Let's put both Fab 4 side by side. Smith, Williamson, Root. Test grades respected across the board, but their white ball chapters are short. Kohli, Villiers, Babar, Warner, elite in whites and just as dangerous in colored clothing under lights against the clock. Same sport, same era, largely, but only one group actually played all of it at the very highest level. Let's be clear about something. Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, and Root are legends. They are three of the finest test batsmen this game has ever produced, and nothing in this video changes that. But best batsman of the era was never meant to mean best in one format. It should mean the best across all three. Cricket in 2026 isn't just 5 days in white. It's 50 over under sun. It's 20 overs under lights. 3 different games demanding 3 different skill sets. And almost nobody masters all 3. 4 men did. Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers, Babar Azam, David Warner. Call it a new Fab 4, call it whatever you want. But the next time someone tells you who the greatest batsman of this era is, ask them one question. Greatest at what exactly? Because in modern cricket, greatness isn't measured in one format anymore. It never should have been. Thanks for watching. Let me know down below who's in your Fab 4.